Now coming to the second part of axillary artery. So as we all know that second part of axillary artery, it is present under the pectoralis minor. So one relation it is over. So let me draw the diagram. So this is axillary artery, very good. Then this is axillary vein. So whenever you are drawing the diagram, don't forget to show the which side we are drawing. This is anterior, this is posterior, this is medial, and this is lateral. So medial to this axillary artery, axillary vein is present, and then what is present? Anterior. So as I told you earlier, so we will just come from outwards to inwards, outwards to inwards. So outwards to inwards, first one is skin, then we can identify all the relations you can write, skin, then superficial fascia, which we have written for the first part of axillary artery. Skin it is present, underneath it you can identify superficial fascia, where we can identify the platysmal muscle fibers and also the supraclavicular nerves you can write. And then you have to write a muscle called as the pectoralis minor. Pectoralis minor. So here you need to write the two fasciae. Two fasciae. What are the two fasciae? So just below the skin, there is another fascia called as superficial, and then the pectoral fascia. This is pectoral fascia, and surrounding the pectoralis minor, we can identify another fascia. So that fascia is called as clavipectoral fascia. Clavipectoral fascia. Clavipectoral fascia. So skin here, this is skin, and here I have drawn the superficial fascia, then pectoral fascia, then you can see underneath the pectoral fascia where we can identify the pectoralis major muscle fibers. So as the pectoralis minor is present underneath the pectoralis major, you can write the pectoralis major also. So that's about the anterolations of the second part of axillary artery. Then already I have explained about the medial relation, that is axillary vein. Then what about the brachial plexus cards? So the brachial plexus cards, now here the lateral card which I have drawn, lateral card, and the posterior card which I have drawn lateral to the first part, then the posterior card which is present lateral to the first part, that comes exactly to the posterior to the second part, whereas the medial card which is running medial to the second part, and then the lateral card is present lateral to the second part of axillary artery. So this is how the brachial plexus, this is the second part of axillary artery. So medial to this second part, medial card, posterior to the second part, posterior card, lateral to the second part, lateral card of brachial plexus. These are exactly the correct relations of the cards of brachial plexus. They are exactly present according to the names. They are positioned at the second part of axillary artery. Now let us move to the third part of axillary artery and its relations. Is moving to the third part of axillary artery and its relations. So third part of axillary artery and its relations, as you all know that the third part of axillary artery is present below the pectoralis minor. So it is nowhere it is related to the pectoralis minor. Rather, it may be related to the extension of the clavipectoral fascia. And let me discuss about the anterior relations of the third part of axillary artery, posterior relations, medial relations, and lateral relations. So from anterior to posterior, what we can identify is, we can see the skin, then you can see the superficial fascia, then you can see the pectoralis major, pectoralis major, and then below that, exactly below that, where we can identify the medial root of medial cord, which is extending anterior. So it is running anterior to the third part of axillary artery. So you try to write down here as a median root of median nerve, which is running anteriorly, and that is anterolations of the third part of axillary artery. Then after that, let me complete this lateral relations. So the lateral relations are, so the lateral root of the lateral cord, which is extending towards the medial root, and it is going to join with that, and then it is forming the trunk of median nerve. So this is called as lateral root of lateral cord, and together this lateral root and the medial root together, they joins with each other and forms the median nerve. That median nerve is present lateral to the third part of axillary artery. So the lateral to the third part of axillary artery, the trunk of median nerve is present. So you can write the clear formation of that median nerve here. So in the anatomical position, you can see clearly. As we have taken a transverse section, you may not see clearly, so I have drawn like that. The other relations of the third part, lateral relations, are, we can also see a muscle called as coracobrachialis. And then the nerve which is supplying to that is nothing but musculocutaneous nerve. So these are the lateral relations of the third part of axillary artery. And then already you have seen the lateral cord is also present lateral to the third part of axillary artery. Then moving to the posterior relations. Posterior relations, you can identify three muscles are present. One is subscapularis. Then we can identify latissimus dorsi, and then teres major. So try to remember, try to find out how they are running. Subscapularis, which is extending upwards, and it is reaching to the lesser tubercle of the humerus, and that's why it is a relation to the posterior relation to the third part of axillary artery. Even the teres major, which is extending upwards and reaching to the medial lip of intertubercular sulcus, that is also the posterior relation of the third part of axillary artery. And the latissimus dorsi, which is, it is also coming from the posteriorly, and it is reaching to the floor of intertubercular sulcus. So these three muscles, they are getting inserted to the humerus. That's why they are related to the posterior to the third part of axillary artery. And towards the artery, we can identify two more structures. The nerves which are present towards the artery are, one is towards medially radial nerve. So these two nerves are coming from the posterior cord of brachial plexus. The lateral one is axillary nerve. So relation of the axillary nerve and the radial nerve is posterior to the third part of axillary artery. Then what about present medially? We can identify axillary vein. Throughout its course, axillary vein is present, and between the axillary vein and axillary artery, two structures are present. One is ulnar nerve, the thicker one is ulnar nerve. Then most anteriorly, in front of that, we can identify medial cutaneous nerve of forearm. So these two structures which are present between axillary artery and axillary vein, anteriorly medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm, and posteriorly ulnar nerve. Then what is this structure which is present medial to the axillary vein? This is nothing but medial cutaneous nerve of arm. Medial cutaneous nerve of arm, and it is receiving a communication that is called as intercostobrachial nerve. Sometimes it comes from the second intercostal space, and sometimes it comes from the third intercostal space. I write it as intercostobrachial nerve. Intercostobrachial. So these are the relations of the axillary artery, the three parts. So that is about the three parts of axillary artery and its relations. In the next class, we are going to discuss about other important topic. Thank you, dear students. See you soon.